There is a certain tiredness that doesn't come from doing too much, but from enduring too much. A tiredness that lives behind your eyes, in the way you pause before speaking, in how deeply you feel things you rarely explain. You've survived moments that reshaped you, experiences that didn't just hurt, but changed how you see the world. And because of that, you may feel older than your age, quieter than before, less impressed by things that excite everyone else. You might wonder why life feels heavier for you, why connection feels harder, why you don't fit easily into conversations that skim the surface. At times you may even question yourself, asking whether something inside you is broken, worn down, or permanently altered. But here is what rarely gets said. When a person goes through too much, they don't simply carry scars. They develop structure. The mind adapts. The nervous system reorganizes. Awareness deepens. You didn't lose something essential along the way. You grew something rare. What looks like distance is often discernment. What feels like loneliness is often clarity. What feels like heaviness is often depth that has nowhere shallow to go. This isn't a story about damage. It's a story about transformation you were never taught how to recognize. And once you see it clearly, you may finally understand that what you've been calling weakness has been strength in disguise all along. Part 1. You developed awareness before you developed safety. You didn't learn how to feel safe first. You learned how to notice first. Notice shifts in tone. Notice when silence meant danger. Notice when someone's smile didn't match their energy. While others were learning how to relax into the world, you were learning how to read it. Not because you were anxious by nature, but because awareness was necessary for survival. Psychologically, this changes how your mind develops. When safety is inconsistent, the brain prioritizes perception over comfort. You become highly attuned to patterns, emotional, behavioral, relational. You sense undercurrents before words are spoken. You recognize when something is about to change, even if you can't immediately explain why. This isn't overthinking. It's early pattern recognition, built under pressure. Because of this, you may feel like you see too much. Crowded rooms drain you. Superficial conversations feel exhausting. You pick up on tension others ignore, and sometimes you wish you could turn it off. But this awareness is not a malfunction. It's a system that learned to protect you by understanding reality deeply. You don't take people at face value because experience taught you that reality lives beneath appearances. You trust your instincts because they were refined through repetition, not imagination. And while this can make you feel different, older, quieter, more reserved, it also gives you an emotional intelligence that can't be taught in comfort. You learned how to stay present in uncertainty, how to read emotional landscapes, how to adapt without collapsing. That kind of awareness doesn't come from ease, it comes from necessity. And once you stop seeing it as a burden, you begin to realize something important. You weren't robbed of innocence without reason. You were given perception long before the world was ready to name it as strength. Part 2. Your nervous system learned precision, not weakness. What you carry in your body is not fragility, it's refinement. Your nervous system didn't break under pressure. It adapted. It learned when to stay alert and when to go still. It learned how to conserve energy, how to read the room, how to respond instead of react. This is why you may feel overwhelmed by chaos, but unusually calm during real crisis. Your system knows the difference. Psychology often labels this kind of sensitivity as a problem, but sensitivity shaped by hardship is not softness, it's precision. You don't react to everything because you've learned what deserves your energy. Loud environments, forced positivity, constant stimulation. These drain you not because you're weak, but because your system is tuned for meaning, not not. You may need more solitude than others, more quiet, more time to reset. And at times, you might judge yourself for that, wondering why normal life feels like too much. But your nervous system isn't failing, it's selective. It learned that staying regulated was the only way forward, so now it naturally avoids excess. This is also why you often feel deeply grounded in moments when others panic. When something truly matters, your body knows how to slow down, focus, and stay present. That steadiness was trained in environments where losing control wasn't an option. You learned emotional containment, long before you learned emotional expression. Your calm isn't accidental. Your boundaries aren't random. They are the result of a system that learned how to protect itself intelligently. And once you understand this, you stop trying to fix yourself and start honoring the quiet strength your body has been carrying all along. Part 3. You can sit with complexity without needing escape. You don't need everything to be simple in order to feel okay. You've learned how to sit inside mixed emotions without rushing to label them or push them away. You can feel sadness and gratitude at the same time. You can love someone and still see their limitations clearly. You can move forward without pretending the past didn't matter. This ability didn't come from comfort, it came from lived experience. Psychologically, this is called emotional integration. It means your mind no longer demands certainty in order to stay stable. While many people escape discomfort through distraction, denial, or constant busyness, you've learned how to remain present with what's real. You don't collapse when life becomes unclear. You don't panic when answers take time. You understand, on a deep level, that unresolved things don't mean something is wrong. They mean something is still unfolding. Because of this, shallow advice often frustrates you. Phrases like, just think positive, or everything happens for a reason, feel empty. Not because you're negative, but because you've lived long enough to know that truth is layered. Healing isn't linear. Strength isn't always optimistic. Sometimes strength is simply staying conscious in the middle of discomfort. This is also why you're often a grounding presence for others. You don't rush to fix their pain. You don't invalidate complexity with quick solutions. You know that being witnessed matters more than being corrected. Your presence communicates safety because you're not afraid of emotional depth. The world tends to reward simplicity, but life itself is complex. And the fact that you can sit with that complexity without escaping, numbing, or denying it means you carry a level of emotional maturity that few people ever develop. Part 4. You became self-directed instead of approval-dependent. When support is inconsistent, you learn something early and quietly. Approval cannot be your foundation. You stop expecting permission to exist, to feel, to decide. Over time, your attention turns inward. You begin to listen to yourself. Not because you're self-absorbed, but because relying on others proved unreliable. Psychologically, this creates a strong internal compass. You don't move based on applause. You don't need constant reassurance to know who you are. Your decisions may look slow or quiet from the outside, but they're intentional. You think before you act. You reflect before you commit. You'd rather be aligned than liked. This is why you may feel out of place in environments built on performance, status, or comparison. You're not motivated by proving yourself. You're motivated by truth. And that can confuse people who measure worth through visibility or validation. You don't overshare. You don't explain yourself endlessly. Not because you're closed off, but because you've learned that your inner world doesn't need constant external confirmation to be real. This kind of independence can feel lonely at times. When you're self-directed, fewer people can walk beside you consistently, but it also makes you emotionally resilient. Misunderstanding doesn't shatter you. Rejection doesn't erase you. You don't disappear when others disapprove. You've learned how to stand on your own without becoming hardened. That balance is rare, and once you recognize it, you stop questioning why you don't fit everywhere. You weren't meant to. You were meant to move from inner alignment, not external permission. Part 5. You feel lonelier because you see more clearly. Your loneliness isn't caused by a lack of people. It's caused by a lack of resonance. When you've lived through depth, loss, or long periods of self-reflection, your inner world changes. Conversations that stay on the surface begin to feel hollow. Social rituals that revolve around image, distraction, or noise no longer satisfy you. And slowly, you start to realize that being around others doesn't always mean feeling connected. Psychologically, this happens when awareness outgrows environment. You're not withdrawn, you're discerning. You notice emotional dishonesty. You sense when connection is performative. You feel the gap between what people say and what they actually. And once you see that gap, it becomes difficult to pretend you don't. This clarity can feel isolating, especially in a world that rewards conformity and comfort. over truth. You may wonder why it's so hard to just fit in like everyone else, but fitting in was never your task. Depth naturally narrows the field of connection. The more aware you become, the fewer relationships feel real, but the ones that do feel profound. You don't crave constant interaction, you crave meaning. You want conversations that slow time, not fill it. You want presence, not performance. That doesn't make you antisocial. It makes you attuned to what actually nourishes you. This kind of loneliness isn't something to fix, it's something to understand. It's the quiet space that forms when your inner life becomes richer than what most environments offer. And once you stop fighting it, you begin to see it for what it truly is. Not isolation, but discernment, shaping the path toward deeper, truer connection. Part 6. You carry meaning where others carry noise. When you've been through too much, your relationship with meaning changes. You no longer chase what is loud, urgent, or attention-grabbing. You listen for what is true. Your mind naturally filters out noise, drama, trends, empty urgency, because your system learned long ago that energy is precious. You don't spend it where it doesn't matter. Psychologically, this is a sign of deep internal prioritization. Your brain has reorganized around significance rather than stimulation. You notice the subtle moments others overlook, a pause in someone's voice, a quiet shift in atmosphere, the weight behind a simple sentence. You understand that life isn't made of big moments alone, but of meaning layered into ordinary ones. This is why people may feel calm around you without knowing why. You don't rush, you don't overwhelm, you don't try to fill silence. Your presence communicates steadiness because you aren't trying to escape yourself. You know how to be with reality as it is. That creates safety, not through words, but through tone, pacing, and attention. You also tend to move slowly and deliberately, not because you're unsure, but because you respect depth. You'd rather do fewer things with intention than many things without awareness. This can make you feel out of sync in a culture obsessed with speed and visibility. But slowness, in your case, is wisdom expressing itself. You carry meaning because you've learned what it costs to live without it. You don't need excess to feel alive. You need alignment, and that quiet, grounded way of moving through the world isn't emptiness. It's clarity refined by experience. Conclusion. If you've gone through too much, you were never meant to return to who you were before. What you experienced didn't just leave marks, it restructured you. It shaped how you see, how you feel, how you choose. And while that path can feel lonely, heavy, or misunderstood, it also placed you in a rare position. You live from the inside out. You don't need constant validation. You don't need noise to feel real. You don't need to rush toward what doesn't align. You carry awareness, emotional precision, and depth because life demanded it of you, and you rose to meet it. That doesn't make you broken. It makes you forged. There is nothing wrong with needing more meaning, more honesty, more quiet. There is nothing wrong with standing apart when the crowd moves on autopilot. Your strength isn't loud, flashy, or obvious, but it's stable, it holds, it endures, it understands. So stop measuring yourself by standards built for people who haven't walked your road. You weren't shaped for ease, you were shaped for depth. And once you truly see that, you no longer ask what's wrong with you. You begin to recognize what's right.